Hello, my name is Dr. Rebecca Hapes, and today we will be discussing one of the UCD objectives of academic advising, how academic advisors can help students evaluate their personal interests and abilities, leading to the creation of realistic academic and professional goals. Ultimately, this type of assistance will help students develop an understanding of the university. It will support their adjustment and transition to the university life, and it will assist with navigating their way through their educational journey. This process will involve working to spark reflection and self-assessment with the students. So you may be asking yourself, how can I get students to be reflective? Or what can I do as an advisor to foster reflection? Or even, what does this look like in an advising session? Well, we're going to dig into this just a bit, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have guiding principles and question options to facilitate your advising sessions. For those with access, you're encouraged to utilize the Student My Reflection tool in the new academic advising system, and to provide a set of questions to help the student reflect on their interests and abilities. Both reflection and self-assessment are processes that can help students to better understand themselves and to improve their learning. Reflection is a personal process that can lead to insights and discoveries and can help students to respond intentionally, improving their decision-making skills, and it can help foster a sense of well-being. Self-assessment is a process that involves, establishing strengths, improvements, and insights, and can help students identify gaps in their skills and then take the appropriate and necessary action items to improve them. In the context of higher education and academic advising, reflection and self-assessment can help students take ownership of their learning and improve educational outcomes. This directly reflects and relates to the culture and student agency principles of academic advising established by UCD. But how do academic advisors even begin this process with their students? So to begin answering this question for you, I want you to actually take a few minutes to reflect on your own academic experience. I want you to think about individuals who were impactful to you during that time. Think about the behavior of these individuals. How did they interact with you? How did they prompt growth and development in your life? What did they say? What did they ask? What did they do that impacted you? When you have some of those in mind, I now want you to think about how you can incorporate some of these components, those that were positively impactful to you, with the students that you're advising. Now, feel free to hit pause on this video and reflect on this for just a few moments. Now that you're back and you've had a chance to reflect on the individuals who were impactful for you, let's move on to the students that you're advising. Well, first, much of getting the students to reflect in the context of higher education can begin with building relationships. Rapport should be developed, relationships need to be built, and a welcoming and inclusive environment created. Building rapport with students and fostering connection works to support student agency. In supporting the culture principle of academic advising for UCD, these practices should assist students with feeling as though they have a safe space in which they can have developmental conversations with academic advisors. Students are more receptive to prompting and guidance after relationships have been established and trust built. As the saying goes, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. This is not, of course, to mean that the responsibility for this relationship building or this process is fully reliant on the academic advisor. In fact, students should play an active role in the academic advising process. As part of the institutional expectations of students within this advising process, students are expected to attend meetings and engage in preparatory activities. It's these preparatory activities that we'll be discussing in just a bit regarding reflection and self-assessment questions that can be posed to the students in the My Reflection tool in the student advising system. These prompts, these questions can serve as a resource to facilitate students as they embark on self-assessment, reflective goal setting, and planning exercises. Through academic advising, students will be empowered to become increasingly responsible and autonomous. This supports the student agency principle of academic advising for UCD. The advisor will ultimately adopt a coaching and signposting role to support and enable students to solve academic issues for themselves. As you build relationships with students, one of the steps in helping students create realistic academic and professional goals is to really understand their interests and abilities. This can be done by connecting with the students, encouraging them to participate in institutional events and development programs that align with their interests and abilities, and signposting students to supports that are available to help them achieve their goals. As students reflect and conduct self-assessment, they will also identify challenges and barriers in their lives. This is another opportunity for signposting students to institutional supports, including the Writing Center, the Math Support Center, digital skills resources, volunteering opportunities, sports clubs, and other societies. The students with whom you're interacting have and are still likely experiencing a variety of challenges and barriers. Challenges can be something difficult, but they can also be something regarded as an opportunity or a stimulating experience. Be particularly mindful of the student mindset issues within your discussions, and I would encourage you to review Dr. Carol Dweck's research related to fixed versus growth mindset. Be mindful of the language utilized in advising sessions so that it encourages the move to the growth mindset. Now, a barrier refers to something that's preventing progress. As academic advisors, we generally know this about our student populations. They have both challenges and barriers. But in practice, this is sometimes challenging to remember that all students are juggling multiple things. In our day-to-day experiences, we can simply forget all of the things that our students are facing. So we need to be mindful and empathetic to their experiences. Your students are likely dealing with issues such as general transition as they experience higher education for the first time, financial challenges, mental health concerns, accessibility and academic concerns, and potentially a lot of family obligations as well. Facing challenges and overcoming the barriers could be a goal. For example, if a student has a fixed idea around their own limitations or has identified a knowledge gap. So what might putting this all together look like in the actual advising practice? Let's discuss the very practical components of the advising appointment itself, and let's see how all of these pieces tie together. Many academic advisors view the advising appointment as the appointment itself, but I want to challenge you to think about advising appointments in 3 phases. I want you to think about the preparatory activities as the pre-appointment phase, the appointment itself as a separate phase, and then the post-appointment and follow-up as a 3rd phase. You can even think about this as a cycle for your advising appointments. So prior to the appointment, I encourage you to utilize the institutional academic advising technology to provide a set of questions for students in the reflection tool. Review any notes in the student system, as well as any correspondence, perhaps emails, between the advisor and the student. This preparation can help to provide additional insight for the advisor to better understand the nuances related to the student and the context with which the appointment may be taking place. These questions, the preparatory questions that we spoke about, can include things such as, what past educational modules have you most enjoyed? What about the module did you find most? And insert the word of your choice. Interesting, exciting, challenging. Another question could be, what types of environments make you most comfortable? For example, if we think about office settings versus laboratories versus outside in nature, the student answers to these questions may be very helpful to guide and shape their program and module. During the appointment, provide framing questions to help increase student engagement by encouraging discussion, debate, and high-order thinking. A framing question is one using insight you already have about the other student, and it helps to build trust and to encourage individuals to open up, engage, and share even more with you. Some types of framing questions include open-ended questions. Recommended that you start with what or how or why in order to invite discussion and engagement. It's advised to avoid straightforward yes/no questions, as well as leading questions that suggest a particular answer. Another type of framing question to ask is questions about progress. Ask the students how they feel about their progress, how they feel about their accomplishments. Additionally, you can utilize things such as tell me more or describe that for me to follow up and engage on a deeper level with the student. As an example, an advisor might begin the appointment with the student by intentionally making them feel welcome and comfortable. So it's really important to think about your physical space, making sure that it's an inviting and welcoming space. Then transition to the appointment objectives and end with action items and future steps. After the appointment, document the meeting, including topics covered, signposting provided, and action items decided upon for both the advisor and the student. If there were no notes in the institutional system prior to the appointment, I encourage you to begin entering notes for your future reference to assist with the coherence principle of academic advising. This is your chance for your current self to really be helpful to your future self. These notes may be actually shared with the student as well. So if we think about appointments as predominantly verbal, students with a number of learning preferences may really benefit from a written summary of the meeting topics and items they need to complete after the meeting. So depending on the content of the meeting, advisors may choose to make notes to themselves as well, to follow up with students and check in on them using a variety of institutional systems. So for example, if a student lets me know that they're concerned or feel anxious about an upcoming event, let's say an exam, I might send them a quick encouraging email the day before or the morning of, or reach out to them after the time of the event just to see how things went. The prompt questions on this particular slide align with the appreciative advising model, which I won't delve into too deeply here. However, I will include a link in the resource section of the video if you want to review that model more. The model begins with the premise that first impressions are crucial. So I've already mentioned thinking about your welcoming space, welcoming the student with some introductory questions and communication as you're getting the appointment started. So I've included introductory questions for the students, and these help them feel at ease. They begin to develop rapport, and they allow for deeper and more meaningful interactions. The questions posed here could essentially take you through the outline of an advising appointment, beginning with introductory, moving through the appointment objectives, and then ending with follow-up, action items, and goals. Once students are utilizing the reflection and self-assessment processes, they will better understand their interests and abilities. This allows academic advisors to then help them establish realistic academic and professional goals. This process includes the advisors guiding students in creating a plan of action to achieve their goals after students have set attainable goals based on those identified interests and abilities. This also allows the advisors an opportunity to encourage students to stay accountable by checking in with them. In my previous example with a student's concern about their exam, I might encourage their growth mindset in an encouraging message prior to the exam, in signposting them to support resources. Or after the exam, I might check in with them about their results. In that sort of correspondence, I might encourage them to reflect on their preparation, their performance, what strategies went well and were helpful, and perhaps what strategies were not. We might communicate about choices the student made and potentially what they believe they need to modify based on the outcomes. This type of interaction encourages the student agency in addition to providing students with a very practical method for progress and improvement. Now, while the framework can remain consistent, the advising appointment cycle and specific questions asked within an advising meeting are generally tailored to each student dependent upon their needs, and the questions may even unfold as the appointment progresses. So I want to thank you for watching this video and for your ongoing commitment to students and student success. Thank you.